The Quick Diz Takes podcast is a Quick Diz Takes production.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hello, I'm Michael Eisner.
Oh boy!
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Quick Diz Takes podcast. As you can see, we are Timless tonight, but it's a special episode where we have with us Donny Hebert from the Subject Disney podcast, and we also, as always, have Sarah with us as well. So, if Donny would like to, give us a little brief summary of his activities with his podcast that he does.
All right. Well, as John said, we're the Subject Disney podcast. We're a very new podcast, and essentially it's me and my girls just talking things about Disney. And we're starting to try to bring on a few guests as well, just to open the horizons on what we can talk about with Disney. So basically, anything we can come up with as far as Disney goes, our favorite things to do there. One of my favorite ones right now is the trip recast I did with my daughters.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes, and I listen to a bunch of Disney podcasts, and it's usually, as most of the ones I listen to or that I see, it's mostly us grown adults talking about Disney. So what's unique about your podcast is you have the perspective of anywhere from adults to young kids, which is nice, first off, and then second off, it's nice that it's a whole like family thing, which is something good to listen to. But then even on your end, it's something that you have recordings of you and your family, and you have recaps of your trips and what their favorite things are at that stage of their lives. So it's I think it's a very unique podcast.
well, thank you. And to be honest, it was actually my high school daughter's idea to start the podcast. So, and when she came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, you should start a podcast," I was like, well, you gonna do it with me? She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, then, yeah, let's do it." Because like you said, to have that constant recording later on in life, for them to be able to look back on that and to listen to themselves and to listen to how they grew up with Disney and what it's meant to them. Yeah. And also not just about Disney, but how the family relationship has changed as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure by then the dynamics of the family will be completely different than where it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, right now you haven't heard my oldest daughter on the podcast yet because she's down in Florida. She lives down there. So I'd like to get her on it once in a while too.
Yeah, and it's not, I like the as from the older perspective, what especially your little series of you going through your favorite rides and stuff in each park. It's just funny to hear, as being Disney type of veterans, what the more you go, which rides are your favorite, and then you have your little daughter on it, and what how you wouldn't even, what her favorite ride might be wouldn't even crack your top 10 favorite rides. It's just the difference of opinions of that is nice too.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I just like the idea that your kids are on it and you have essentially a digital scrapbook. We have photo albums our parents set up, and then our generation kind of loses that because everything's digital, but you literally have home videos on the, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, since actually we had kind of brought it up when I was just talking before about us being of the older age, when we go to Disney as opposed to when we may have been younger, what are the rides that are not the same, you actually feel in your older age, that would be as a little kid, you'll just go on anything and you'll go on it 20 different times. But nowadays, as you're older, it's well, that might be a one and done for me. So it was just kind of get the discussion of like, what are those rides that are you feel differently as an older person? Where I'll give the example of like, you know, a rock and roller coaster. It might be a once a trip or once every time we go to that park, because there's some points. Also, the last time it wasn't as bad, but I know the time before, like, I don't know, that going upside down just doesn't feel the same as it did when I was like in high school. And now, like, I have to make sure I can't go on an upside down ride. No, I have to make sure there's food in my stomach. It can't be the first ride of the day. Or like, if I don't eat a good breakfast, I have to make sure I drink water and I'm replenished, because
So what you're saying is rides that we're now too old for?
not too old for. We can still go on them, but it's just like that. I can go on it once, but that, like a rock and roller coaster, I definitely like felt it probably when in the 2019 was that first, like, I don't know, upside down. I mean, if this was short, I would have kept going and going and going, but now it's like, I need a break. I don't know if anybody else feels that way about that ride.
Well, John, for me, it's going to be a little bit hard because my first time going to Disney, I was an adult.
Okay.
But what I can say is, like you getting older, we spoke about this a little bit earlier, is Everest.
Yes.
When I was younger, I definitely would have been able to do Everest constantly, like my kids do. They love to do it back to back to back to back, because for some reason we always hit Everest when it's a walk on. Every time we've been there, we've been able to walk on it multiple times in a row. But for me, I'll go on once, maybe twice, and then I'm like, okay, guys, I'll watch the bags now because I'm good.
Me too.
I'm not going to be able to continue going backwards and doing that drop. It just,
See,
I'm not going to continue going.
see
I
on
went-
that,
I
on
went on it once and didn't go on it again.
Yeah, you couldn't handle it either?
see, that one for me is the backwards. There's that one when that first back, you go down and then you go around that curve.
Mhm.
That is the curve that gets my stomach. But other than that, I'm good. But it's that, like, but like you said, younger days goes backwards. Oh, this is great. I'll go on it 10 times in a row.
Yep.
I don't know. For me, I guess it's not so much a roller coaster, but it would be Hollywood Tower of Terror. I loved that ride. Absolutely loved it. I like the theming. I like all that. The ride itself, I really like. I like the fact that depending on which, surface elevator you get into, either you're shot up or you're dropped. So you don't know until you get on. Well, if you pay attention to which side your line is in, I guess, but I never pay attention. But I'm the same way. Like, even this past trip, I was like, the line's too long. Have I eaten? Did I eat too much? Did I not eat enough? And I really kind of like stalled. And then it was park closing and everybody was at the nighttime show. And I was like, well, I really can't get out of it now. So, and it ended up being fine. But the trip before that, forget it. I was nauseous. I needed Tums. Couldn't handle it. Just, I don't know. Like he said, did I eat enough? Am I going to be okay? How much of the day is left if I don't feel good?
It's definitely weird now, like having to prepare your stomach before you go in an amusement park. When, I mean, as a kid, any amusement park, you just wake up and like, let's get there and let me go on the biggest ride possible. Now it's, I have to plan my day out.
And as many as I can.
Yeah.
I remember going to amusement parks when I was a kid, like we were talking about earlier, Canopy Lake, and my brothers and I always had a deal of to see who could do the most for the longest.
Oh no.
Before seeing our lunch.
Yeah.
But it was no big deal. Today, there's no way I could do something like that, But like you said, Sarah, Tower of Terror, my first time on it was our last trip. And I actually wasn't going to go on it because I knew that it did those drops. And I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this.
Yes.
I'm actually glad I did, though, because one of my daughters said her favorite part of that trip was when I told her I was going on it.
Aww.
Because I told them I would wait in line with them, but I would do the chicken exit once they got to the ride, because I wanted to see the queue.
Yeah,
I wanted to go through the whole experience.
Yeah.
But I just didn't want to do the drops. But I'm glad I decided to do it just because, like I said, it was my daughter's favorite part of her trip was the fact that I went on with her. So
If it makes you feel any better, we were doing a podcast once and both of my children came down and they had trapped a ladybug. And so one of them made an appearance on his underpants. So it's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. We're family friendly on both ends. It's fine.
that's good. I was just thinking about Tim.
Oh, he's got a little girl. It's fine. Oh, man. No, but yeah, I feel you. The boys were super excited that I ended up going on. So kind of the same thing as you, but you don't realize like you kind of think, okay, when they look back on this trip, oh, mom didn't go on this ride or mom didn't go on that ride. So it kind of, get mom guilt sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel you on that.
The Tower of Terror, I find, and I'm completely opposite. As the older I get, the more that one doesn't. That one bothered me when I was little. Now nothing. I think I can do the up and down.
So let's do teacups.
Yeah, like I will never go on the teacups.
Now mom does the spinny rides.
I mean that is one when I was a kid I could go on, like the teacups or like the scrambler type ride. But if it goes around, I'm sorry to the children. I will not be going on those. Like I've never gone on Mission Space. I refuse to even. I'll look at it from the outside. I won't go in that.
See, I'm kind of disappointed I didn't go on Mission Space last time. And the reason I didn't is because my kids said the same. They did it and came off, looked at me and said, Dad, you can't do that one.
They go on orange or green?
Is it green that's the harder one or orange?
Orange is the harder one.
They went on the hard one. Orange.
Yeah. No.
And they came off and they were like, Dad, don't do it. And then they went, hey, we really don't want to do it either. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not going to do that one.
Pretty solid.
It would have been good just to get the experience,
yeah.
So that I could say, yeah, that's a one and done.
Maybe next time have them do green and test green out for you. That's the less intense one.
Yeah. Well, maybe my wife and I will do that one on our trip.
Yeah. So I think that's the only, not that Epcot has a ton of rides, but I think that's the only ride that we don't do in Epcot.
No, we don't even really step
that far
over there. Like we kind of walked by and I saw that it was over there, but I wasn't going down that way.
Yeah. But we just generally, we get as far as Test Track and then we don't continue to travel past Mission Space.
And Test Track, I did feel a little, the end is fine. There's that one little section in the middle where you go by the truck, like before the truck.
Yeah. And
it kind of the stopping and see it's I have to be prepared.
I know sometimes those curves, like if they get you going fast enough on a curve where you start to tilt up in it, like I don't necessarily feel it in my stomach. I kind of feel like my upper back, like by my neck, I feel like that hurts a little. I don't know if it's because I'm like too tense trying to stabilize so I don't flop around, but it's not so much a belly thing.
That's my issue, I guess.
The
belly. I have to worry about the stomach. Because once that happens, I'm done for the rest of the day, which is not something that you really, you see, Disney's not the cheapest thing, so you want to get as much out of it as possible. So definitely planning more at a Disney park.
It's interesting you say that, John, because a couple years ago when we went down, my daughter was on a school trip with high school.
Yeah.
And her and I were supposed to go over to do Midway Mania.
Yeah.
And my daughter decided to do the Hollywood Tower of Terror. Her boyfriend convinced her to go on that one. And she came off of that one and she was like, I'm done. She was done for the day, went back to the hotel. And I'm like, you were begging. The only thing you wanted to do with your dad this whole trip, because, obviously she was with the high school, was you wanted me to do Midway Mania with you. And now she wouldn't do it.
Oh, no.
But I just thought it was interesting how you say that can happen. Yeah. Even to my high school, it's like she was done at the end of that ride.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, that's the rough part about that's if you're like that type of person that can't do that. But then there's also like the beauty of that Disney's not like a Universal where they have the more intense roller coasters. They only have like the one or two rides that maybe will alter your day a little bit with that sense. So like at least you can only have the few to avoid.
Yeah.
So
it's not a thrill park; it's a family park.
yeah, which is which is nicer because you know I'll go on Haunted and Pirates 50 times. Beautiful. I'm good.
You know, again, I'm going to relate back to my kids on this. Is I forced them to go on the Carousel of Progress.
Yes.
Because I wanted to experience it. And again, we're relatively new. Like I said, my first time going to Disney was only about 5 years ago, and we've only been 3 times. You know, but when we got off of it, every single one of them loved it.
Yeah.
And I was completely shocked that they would like that type of ride, you know, but it really kept them going. You know, where today I look at it as from an older person's view, I would figure we tended to like those a little bit more because of the storytelling aspect, and not necessarily the thrill, which is I think is what Disney's really good about, is telling the story and putting you into a scenario or a situation.
I mean, we talk a lot on the show about, you know, non-IP things and the original aspect and things that Walt himself had a hand in. And I mean, I know that we both love Carousel of Progress. And like you said, it kind of was like, we'll make our kids go on it because we enjoy it. But after this last trip, our oldest, who is almost 9, has not stopped singing Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. He doesn't know all the words, and he makes some amazing substitutions, but he has not stopped singing it. And I didn't expect that from him. But it's the same thing. It's that storytelling, and he gets into it, and it's something new and different as far as it's not connected to a movie or a TV show or something like that. And so it's something new for him.
Yeah, well, because I thought, okay, we went on it the first day we were in the Magic Kingdom.
Mhm.
And I thought, okay, well, we went on, it was nice. But then it was even like his suggestion, well, let's go on that again our second day. So which you don't really think
8-year-old's gonna do.
a kid that's especially like with his hyper attitude.
I'll just say he's active.
The way he is, that would want the slow, like he wanted the second ride. He sat front row, right in the front, right in the middle, sat there as the happiest.
By himself.
Yeah, because they have the wheelchair section, but there's no wheelchair, so he sat there by himself. Well, we sat to the side, happy as a clam, and sang. That was even we still had. We left the next day, and he was still singing. He was singing all through Disney Springs.
He was singing it just now when I was trying to get him to go to sleep.
Yeah, so it's just weird what little kids can attach to.
But like
it's amazing because you never know what it is it's gonna be for that trip.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's interesting to hear what their favorite rides are. And as we would leave the park every night, okay, what's your favorite part of today? Your top 3 of today. Like our little guy would be like, oh, it's this, this, and this. And I'm like, really? That's your top 3? No, this is my top 3. But it's interesting, like that, the perception of that difference there. He had something that he said it was a must do. I'll think of it later, I'm sure. But it was just something that Johnny and I would be like, no, thanks. We can pass.
Yeah, they had a lot of must-dos.
The Aladdin Ride?
No.
Maybe it was Was it Dumbo?
Maybe.
I mean, they thought it was the greatest thing. Really? Okay.
Yeah, we try to avoid the Aladdin Ride. That's kind of.
Well, that's right. That's where I was going with that. I mean,
we did it last Christmas.
Even just the squeaking is just enough to. I don't want to go next to that thing.
We did it at Christmas time, and I didn't realize the camel spits on you while you're riding. And so it was a bit chilly that day, and it was like nighttime, and I was like, what? No, I'm wet. Like, what? Are you kidding? Johnny's on the ground laughing at me.
Goes in circles. I won't go on it. Although
anything circles are spinning.
I did go on Dumbo, but it was as I guess we're bad parents. It took like 4 or 5 trips before we actually took the kids on Dumbo.
Yeah, his mom's like, that's their first try on Dumbo. Mm-hmm. But we got him on Rise of Resistance, so we've redeemed ourselves. I mean, like we said, it's not really a thrill theme park.
Yeah, but still, I mean, I'm not 100% with this, going on the Skyliner. I just go on it for the convenience of it. But I'm not a huge fan of the Skyliner.
What about Pandora?
Oh no, that one doesn't bother me at all.
No,
no. The simulators never bothered me. I know they do bother. I know some people get that like the headaches, but I've never, even on like Star Tours or any of that. I'm pretty good.
See, they've never bothered me, but I brought that up because I know the simulators do bother a lot of people. It's the only other one that I could really think of that may affect you. I mean, you already brought up Rock and Roller Coaster. I mean, that one, the first time I was on it, I was like, I enjoyed it, the ride. But at the same time, I think it was at that point where they flipped you upside down. I was like, okay, when is this going to end?
Yeah.
Now, have you been able to get on Rise of the Resistance too, Donnie?
I did. We were
Okay.
able to get on it twice on our last trip.
So people listening, not a spoiler, but kind of, I guess, at some point they do drop you. It's almost like a mini free fall, kind of like Tower of Terror. And you get that like jolt. And does that bother you? Like Tower of Terror kind of stuff, like that drop?
Usually, but not on that one.
Maybe because it's so short
It is so short.
Yeah.
You know?
and it's not multiple.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the multiple one was a little bit different. And even though, honestly, on Tower of Terror, it didn't bother me that bad. And it could be just because, like John said, I was prepared for it. And, you know, I was expecting a lot worse. So I knew my stomach wasn't in a position where it was going to be a problem, per se.
And then since you've only, I think you've only experienced this version of Tower of Terror too. I think
Correct.
For people who experienced the old version, it was very, I think it was, you dropped, you went, I think you did it 3 times and it was just straight up, straight down. Now, since you've only experienced the randomness of whatever, at least you're, I think more of the people who experienced the old version to now would maybe be the people that would not like it as much just because it was simpler. And now it's, well, you go down halfway, then they shoot you back up, and then all the way back to it's but I don't know, I like it. So
I was going to say, my understanding of Tower of Terror is it changes every time because they have so many different evolutions that they can do with it. But
And I think the part that really gets, like, you realize how fast or how high up is when they open the doors and you can see the whole park. Which my boys love. If we're standing in line, that they can like look at the tower and see the doors open and see the people screaming as they fall. But when you're on it, it's a little different.
I was actually disappointed that they didn't do the video this year. They did a video when my daughter rode it, and we remember that because watching the video, you can actually see my daughter pass out on it.
Oh, you know what? That's true. I didn't even know. Thinking about that when we were looking at our pictures, I didn't even notice that.
Now they only do the picture. They didn't do the video of the drop anymore.
Oh,
that's right.
No.
They used to do that.
Maybe that's why.
Probably.
Well, it was funny because our oldest was like, "Oh, I wonder if people pass out on that ride." And I kept asking him, like, "What does pass out mean? Do you know what that means? What does that mean?" He's like, "I don't know, but I hear people say it." But now I'm curious. I can already tell Johnny's looking on his phone.
Yeah, it was.
But no, that's interesting.
It was funny because you could see her. She had that pure terror on her face going up, and then just as it goes to drop, she goes just right down.
We do have video.
We do.
We do. Oh, I'll look at that later.
From the last trip?
Yeah, we just came back last night, actually. So it's in our experience right now.
Oh, wow. I'll have to look back because I don't think we got it from April's trip. So.
I know, like for Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin, they do like the video that they give you is just your still with like animation around it. So maybe it's that with like the lightning. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. I didn't even think of that.
Oh, yeah, that might be it then.
It could be. Are you watching it right now?
No, I was just thinking because we didn't even get like, I think we didn't get a couple pictures. I know we didn't get like the Pirates picture and.
You made an obscene gesture with your hand.
I didn't make an obscene gesture. I gave the guy in front of me bunny ears, but I don't think they would. If they're gonna not give us the picture because
unless one of your fingers was green screened out.
Maybe. But I was gonna say if they're not gonna give me because of bunny ears, but then we had pictures with people pulled their masks down. I thought they would have,
or didn't have them on at all.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the things they had said with the new, the rule of wearing masks on rides is they weren't going to give you the picture if you took your mask off. But
then I think when they started doing multiple parties per vehicle, I think they were upset they were losing out on people who were wearing the masks. And so they were putting digital masks on people for a while.
Yeah, I remember hearing that. Now, when you guys just went down, did they make you wear the masks on the...
Yeah, anywhere indoors.
Past certain parts of rides. So for a lot of the lines... once you get up to like the cast member stand, so like when you go to Haunted Mansion, that stand right at the gates, that's the point you put your mask on. So you're still outside for a lot of that queue because it just winds.
So
and then at that point, you had to wear your mask.
So essentially, once you were in the official starting of the queue, not before you got to that where they had the signs.
So like the Kilimanjaro Safari was frustrating because I was counting people who were walking behind us, and at one point I was up to like 130 people who were not wearing their mask, or they were wearing it like not including people wearing it below their nose, but just people who blatantly weren't wearing one. And I was like, it's frustrating because if there's a cast member, that people will pull it up, and as soon as they're past the cast member, they pull it back down again.
You know, when we were in April, it was full mask the whole time, and that was annoying the heck out of myself and my wife. Was every time we'd see someone that didn't have it right, and a cast member would correct them, which, you know, that's what the cast members are there for, right? And then they would just they'd walk right past the cast member and pull it right down.
Yeah.
And it was like,
frustrating.
You know, I don't care what your position is on the whole masking thing. You're there at Disney. The rules are the rules.
Yeah.
Follow the rules, because all you're doing is you're making the life of the cast member, the people that make Disney what Disney is, hard.
Yeah.
You know, we as guests should be doing everything we can to make their life more pleasurable, because they do that for us.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for the cast members, Disney is not what it is. You know,
and the cast members aren't making the rules. They're paid I'm sure they're compensated well for working at Disney, but they're not there to enforce it. It's like teenagers and young adults who are working these jobs. And I'm sure a lot of them don't want the confrontation that comes along with it. I just kind of put in the news this week that Disney has changed their policy. They've even put it on their maps that people using offensive or obscene language toward cast members will get ejected from the parks. And it's terrifying. It's not terrifying, but it's pathetic that we have to have that as a rule that's written, because it's so common and so frequent for these cast members.
Especially right now.
Yeah. It's just like, like you said, they're in that unfortunate position where they have to enforce this rule that they didn't make, but then they're the front of the line. They're the last. They're the people you see.
Absolutely.
It's unfair that I would say those none of us want to have to, none of us want to wear these masks, but that's what the rule is for Disney. So it's just frustrating. I'm following the rules, but you literally have to, if to get other people to follow the rules, you have to have more cast members standing in the queue with you to tell people to put their mask on, when you could just, it's a simple, you're at Disney, it's a little sacrifice just to keep the place open and all that stuff, but
it's not like Disney made a new rule saying you can't wear purple on Tuesdays. It's just a rule for people's safety, whether you're vaccinated or not.
It's just, I don't know. It's just, it is.
I think it's frustrating for people on both sides.
And it's just, it's just in that sense, like you said, you don't have to wear it outside, but a lot of the queues are outside. So then I don't blame.
I wouldn't want to be a cast member.
No, and then I can't blame everybody, because you're telling people you have to wear it inside, but then I'm still outside. But I'm outside in the thing, but I can stand outside to watch the fireworks right up against people, but I can't when I'm outside in the line, single file, or it's just, overall, it's just confusing for everything.
It is, but it isn't, because like you said, that's why they have their standard is the official queue of that ride. You know, where it officially starts, where there's no question whether or not you're in that queue. You know? So, and I think that's smart, because if you don't, then you're gonna have that ambiguity with it. You know? Especially when you're talking, well, I'm right next to the person. Well, why? You know? It just, there's certain things with it that, yes, when you look at it on the surface, it doesn't make sense, you know, because like you said, on one side of the sign, I can be right next to them and I don't have to wear a mask. I can walk on the other side of the sign, but now I do. It's an arbitrary spot, but the reason it's an arbitrary spot is because it's identifiable by the sign telling you what the wake time is.
Right.
You know, which I think that makes sense. So that when you go to the next ride, no matter what type of queue it is, you know when your mask's gotta go on. It's consistent throughout, that works.
Right.
You know? And I think they did that to try to take that ambiguity away.
I think too, it does kind of help them with, okay, yes, you're still outside, but you're not masked the entire time.
Yeah.
But then, but then, like, the absolute bottom line is sometimes you're an 18-year-old has to enforce rules to maybe somebody, you know, these people who could be their parents or grandparents, and then it's a tough position to put those cast members in.
It's a horrible position for them to be in. You know, like I said, I wouldn't want to do that job.
No, I wouldn't want.
I don't envy them at all.
And that's why one of the things that I made a point of every time that I saw a cast member doing, you know, correcting someone while I was there, you know, I made a point of telling them, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing, because at least it lets them know that
it's appreciated.
Yeah.
I did it similar at Test Track, and the guy was like, listen, nobody wants this job. We switch out every 20 minutes. He's like, sometimes I hold my sign upside down, people laugh. And that's how I get them to fix their mask. But like, no kid should have to go to work and be like, oh, this is what I have to do today, even if it's for 20 minutes. Like, you feel bad for them.
All right. So coming from, we'll kind of end on this. Now, since you've only started, you know, you say in the last 5 years is when you first is, as your perspective, what are like your top, we'll just go top, like what are your top 3 rides since obviously you don't have the nostalgia of going from a child, what is like your favorites?
My absolute favorite is Haunted Mansion. It's not a thrill ride by any means.
No.
But it's just a very well done ride. You know, as far as thrill rides, I would have to say my favorite would be Rock and Roller Coaster. I can still do it, maybe not more than once. But I really like that ride. You know, it's a lot of fun. And my third one, I would say just to have fun on would probably be Frozen. I know that sounds weird, but I'm that idiot that sings the songs.
Yeah.
And then I get made fun of by him for singing off key.
Oh, I don't sing on key, not because, well, one, I can't, period. But the other reason is because it's more fun not to.
Absolutely.
And now, I know that sounds odd that, you know, I'm a guy and I like to do the Frozen songs, but like I was telling John, I have 4 daughters. So to me, it's fun to play with them singing those songs. You know? Or the Frozen sing-along, same thing. You know, just to see their reactions to me singing to those things and then being like, Dad, stop! You know, especially because my oldest, which we've been lucky enough to go to every time she goes with us, she's a theater person. So she's big into theater. That's actually what she's studying, is theater education or musical education with a minor in theater. So, but to see her being embarrassed because her dad's singing off key and out of tune and really badly is a lot of fun.
But that's the best part.
Okay. Now, I have a question with the singing. Now, you had said, I was on your recap podcast, I believe, where you had said you saw there was a little kid on your plane and you started singing now, how did your daughters feel about, like, when you got the whole plane to be singing for this little kid?
Oh, they love it.
Oh, they like that? Okay. I didn't know if that was like an embarrassment thing too.
No, because I don't know. It's different because they saw that as an interaction with someone that we don't know, and seeing the pure joy in that little boy just light up that some stranger was singing the song with them, you know, and then the amazing thing was, like we mentioned in that podcast, was everybody on that back half of the plane started singing it.
Yeah.
It was not something you could ever plan to have happen. Now, I'm sure if it would have gone the other way, where it was just me and the little kid doing it, they would have been like, and embarrassed.
Right.
Yeah.
But because everybody else joined in, they thought it was good. And my 19-year-old wasn't there either. So.
Oh, okay.
Well,
She was already there in Florida. She was on playing with you guys.
See, my favorite thing to do is when I see the little girls in the parks or even in the springs and they have their princess drowns on, I go to his like, look, Princess Anna's here, Princess. And they're like, that's not Princess Anna. But the little girl is like, she thinks I'm the real Princess Anna. And it's like my favorite thing to do. Like there's a 2-year-old in Moana bathing suit. Like, oh, guys, Moana's here. And they're like, Mom, please. But the mom of that little girl, like, she thinks it's really me, But it's like my favorite thing to do because, like, how excited is that little kid to be like, I'm a princess? And my boys, like, they're now split because one they like to pit each other against each other. So like, it's not. And they're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So now they're arguing, but I made that little girl's day, so it's fine.
And she'll remember that too.
Oh, absolutely. It's like my favorite thing. At one point at the end of the trip, the boys are pointing out like, hey, look, there's Cinderella over there. Yes. Now I got them doing it.
You got to get them doing it, though. Get them calling the kid out.
It's my goal. It's even better when it comes from another kid.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Now, also with like, so yeah, okay. Was it always Frozen Ever After since you've been going?
No, the first time we went, it was Nordstrom's.
Oh, was that? It was not. So you okay? So I was gonna say I don't know if. See, well, you have a different reason for liking Frozen than I would. I still prefer Mouse better than Frozen, but I didn't know if it was always Frozen Ever After, and then you wouldn't have the comparison. But you like singing songs.
There was one other thing that we do like to do in the Norway Pavilion that we have to do every time.
Yeah.
And that's go see the troll.
Oh yes.
Because we got to pick his nose.
You got to pick his nose.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
The boys are a little too short, so they climb and then they get in trouble for climbing, either for me or the cast member. But that's like their favorite thing is like to be on their tiptoes and poke his nose.
No, they don't have to climb. My 1-year-old did it.
Did you lift her up?
You just picked him up.
I lifted him up.
Oh, see, I'm usually the one taking the picture, and he's nowhere to be found. It's just me.
I thought it was funny because I kept trying to get him to do it, and he's like, then all of a sudden he goes, boop.
Right in there. What did the cast members say this time? They like belly rubs?
Yeah,
belly rubs and high
that cast
five.
member was saying he likes belly rubs. He's ticklish or something. She was saying, I think this time.
Anything to get them fingers out of the nose.
See, for me, I think the reason I really like that troll statue, not only to have fun with it is because it actually reminds me of when I went to Norway. Because where I went in Norway,
Cool.
they actually have that same troll.
Oh,
That's awesome.
there you go.
What's up, guys? It's Tim, just reminding you to check out the new website, quickdiztakes.com, for more content from providers such as blog posts and opinion pieces. Also, check us out on any single podcast platform out there. And thanks for your continued support. And now back to the show.
I was saying you've continued our streak. I think everybody we've asked, Haunted Mansion has been in the top. That's the consistent one. It's Haunted Mansion and Pirate. So you've kept the streak going. So, all right. So if you want to, another time to give a plug to your podcast, if you'd like.
Sure. Again, we're the Subject Disney podcast. We're available on pretty much any of the podcast platforms, iTunes, Podbean, all the ones that are normal out there. We're not on Stitcher, I don't think, but other than that, pretty much any podcast app.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, John.
It's always nice to get Disney, like-minded Disney people and people who like to talk about Disney. So it was good having you on. All right.
Thanks again for having me on.
So like that, just all the same spiel we give every week as well with the the like and comment on iTunes and YouTube page and all that fun stuff. So we will see everybody next week.